Cures Everything platforms. I am the, you know what, not so good host from last week, TJ Rives. What is with this bagel? That's been a rarity as of late. Didn't get any of the doggies right. We must redeem ourselves today. I am merely TJ Rives. He is the purveyor, the owner, the operator of Winning Cures Everything. Love the website. Why are you not perusing the website that Gary Seegers has? Why are you not on this YouTube page constantly for all the great content? Hello, Brother Seegers. Good to be back with you. Happy Halloween. I caught the costumes on the BetUS show with you and Parker and Kyle. I guess am I dressed like as Tiger Woods? Am I dressed as like Baker Mayfield's caddy? I don't know what I'm dressed as for Halloween. How are you on this Halloween? We're about to be to November, brother. Good to be with you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm excited. The longest month of the college football season is November because we are ready to rock and roll. I mean, you could say it's August because we're ready for the season, but when it comes down to it, we are trying to figure out. I mean, we are in November and have no clue
still
about these conference races.
Like still.
It's going to be a disaster when it gets to
we have anarchy looming, by the way, in several situations where we're going to have unbeaten teams that haven't played each other. And how do we figure out who hosts the conference title game or, who's in the conference title game if it comes down to it with a tiebreaker? Let's see. A lot to sort out. You get 5 Saturdays in November, starting with this weekend. So this ends the month of October on 3 Dog Thursday live on the Winning Cures platforms. By the way, if you're seeing us on Gary's platforms, make note, we are also in podcast form. Wherever you get podcasts, 3 Dog Thursday, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. If you're only hearing us on the podcast feed, you got to come see what we've got here with the video show, including our props, our visual aids are back with our picks. They just need to be better. What in the world? I got hit with a sledgehammer. UNLV had a chance to cover. The Rebels did not, back on last Friday night with Boise State. Wisconsin was never really in it in the second half. The Badgers, we don't need no stinking Badgers. I guess I didn't need them against Penn State at home. They lost by 2 touchdowns. And Garrett Nussmeier was an assassin against me because they're winning the game, Gary, as you know. We both had LSU, and Nussmeier throws not 1, not 2, but 3 second-half interceptions. I know the backup quarterback played better for A&M, the running quarterback, in the second half. But, I mean, they're up 17-7, and he's throwing pick after pick after pick. So down goes LSU. You're the lone guy with Georgia State last week that got an underdog, right? So kudos to you. We just got to be better this. I mean, I had gotten 7 of them right the previous 4 weeks. I got to be better this week. That's all I'm saying, my friend.
Hey, look, everybody has one of those weeks. How crazy. Last week, I did not do well on the underdogs here. But, man, I went 9-0 on the BetUS show last week. So
that's why we need to be listening to you here on Winning Cures and 3 Dog Thursday. By the way, we're going to have agreement, though, right away here on this program coming up. So each of us are looking for 3 underdogs simply to cover. Doesn't matter about outright wins, simply to cover. If the line goes up or down after this show on Thursday, doesn't matter to us. It's the same thing. We're locking in the price for today here only in college football. All right, where do you want to begin? Start us off. I'm curious, and pay attention, peeps, because he got one right last week. Go, Gary.
I'm going to go with one that I talked about on the BetUS show, and it's moved against me, but I'm going to take Vanderbilt plus 7.5 at Auburn. I understand all of the advanced metrics that make Auburn look like a good football team, but let's get it serious on this. They beat a hapless Kentucky team that cannot score last week. Kentucky has done nothing. They had the 1 win against Ole Miss. Aside from keeping it close against Georgia earlier in the year, this offense for Kentucky has been absolutely abysmal. And when you look at all of the little things, Auburn they're number 129 in turnover margin. They give the ball away more than anybody in the conference and almost anybody in the country. They have gotten a little bit better at that. But look, this is a team that when you get them frustrated, they make mistakes. And there is not a single more frustrating team in the entire country than Vanderbilt right now. Diego Pavia, as a dog, is undefeated. He's incredible. Like, this guy is unreal. And typically it's as a double-digit dog. But look, 7.5, like you're giving me a touchdown and the hook here. I feel great about this. I'm looking at all the little fringe things, right? Vanderbilt is number 16 in the country in special teams efficiency. Auburn is number 52. Like, it's these little bitty things where they're going to be able to keep the ball and make it where Auburn, when they do get the ball, feels like they have to push. And when you get a quarterback like Peyton Thorne, where he feels pressure to make something happen because you don't know when you're going to see the ball again, it's a mistake. It's a problem. Constantly.
And we've already seen them lose to Cal at home. They lost to Arkansas at home. What gives you confidence?
Bad Oklahoma team at home.
What gives you confidence in Auburn to be this significant of a favorite? And again, for Vanderbilt, it's five times they've been an underdog this year. They are 5-0 ATS
and have won 3 of them outright,
including beating Alabama.
That's
Kids, right. If you can't tell by the tone of my voice, I was already believing in this before Gary took to the pulpit and started preaching on 3 Dog Thursday. Shall you hold your card up? Hold your card up. He's going to go with the Vanderbilt Commodores, and I am going to join in with the Doors right there with the Commodores. We both will take Vanderbilt plus 7.5 for 3 Dog Thursday. So in this political season, it's unanimous consent on the show. Both of us like Vanderbilt. So I fully expect Auburn to be up 21-0 with the rate I'm going right now.
The reason why this line has moved, everybody has been on Vanderbilt. It is the most tickets on an underdog.
Too public? To that point, is it too public? Is that scaring you?
I think that's why there has been some movement back the other direction, because now you've got sharps coming in with, well, it can't be right all the time, et cetera. Yeah, it can. We've seen this over and over again this year. They can't get the numbers right on these smaller teams, right? Vanderbilt was not supposed to be good. Indiana was not supposed to be good. Illinois was not supposed to be good. Pitt was not supposed to be good. They can't get the numbers right on
Right.
It.
Sure. So, and Pavia is a one-man wrecking crew against Hugh Freeze. Are you aware that with New Mexico State, they went to Liberty as a 20-plus point underdog and destroyed them? And then with New Mexico State last year at Auburn as a 20-plus point underdog, wiped out Auburn last year in Hugh Freeze. I mean, if Pavia with Vanderbilt beats them again and beats Hugh Freeze again, good gracious. Yeah. And we think it's at least going to be close here. So for 3 Dog Thursday purposes, underdog number 1, that's a noon-ish, or what is it, 12:30 maybe on the SEC network, 11:30 Central. Early game, Vandy at Auburn. We're both taking Vanderbilt here. In this instance, are you going to stay in the SEC with your second underdog? Since I joined in, we each have now done one underdog. Are you going to stay in the Southeastern Conference for your second underdog on 3 Dog Thursday?
I am, and I am going to go with Arkansas hosting Ole Miss on Saturday morning. And look, Arkansas has been pretty good. This Ole Miss team, they are propped up by what they had happen in the non-conference. Since they got into SEC play, they have just not been nearly as good. And there's just something about going to, and I know that it's an early game, so obviously the crowd in Fayetteville is not going to be quite the same. But Taylon Green, there's a lot of variance. There's a lot of volatility with this Arkansas offense. What Bobby Petrino has done has been incredibly impressive. And Ole Miss, they're already looking ahead a little bit to next week. They are already, next week they've got Georgia coming into Oxford. Lane spent part of his time in his press conference this week talking about the fact that they did not get a night game from ESPN.
Right.
And so I don't know how focused they are on Arkansas. I do know that they've got a good defense. So there's a chance that they can just completely shut Arkansas down, but we don't know if Trey Harris is going to play. That offense does not look the same without Trey Harris at wide receiver. I feel kind of froggy about Arkansas maybe winning this thing outright because this team has been good. I'll go and put the card up, my friend. I am
going up there. He's got Hogs plus 7.5, and I'm just looking back. In week 4, I had Arkansas plus the 2.5, and I'm trying to remember if that was the Tennessee game. I don't think so.
Week 4 was the A&M game.
The A&M game. So I had them there.
Yeah.
And so we did all right with that. You had Arkansas in week 5, actually, I think, for A&M. So we've both had them already this year successfully. And remember, shoulda, coulda, woulda. They should have beaten a couple of times Oklahoma State and did not early in the year. So you're going back to the Hogs. You're going to call the Hogs early Saturday SEC game. Show them the card one more time. Arkansas against maybe a less than focused Ole Miss bunch that already has a loss to Kentucky, as you mentioned, that collapsed against LSU. There it is. We'll pick Suey. WPS. for Three Dog Thursday for the Arkansas Razorbacks. I promise we're going to get out of the Southeastern Conference with some picks in a couple of moments. But if you're trying to go to that game or any of these big time games, I mean, Ohio State and Penn State, we are going to touch on here on the show. Massive game in the Big Ten. If you're trying to go to that one, if you're trying to go to the different showdowns like Oregon against Michigan, we're going to talk Pitt SMU coming up, which is an ACC game. I can't keep this crap straight. Iowa State hosting Texas Tech. Any of these games, use our sponsor. You see it on the screen if you're with us on the video. Ticket Smarter mobile app. Use their secondary prices because they're the best. They're the best with their algorithm that you're going to find on the secondary market. And use the promo codes WCE10 for a purchase of $100 or more. Take $10 off. You're not going to get one of the better seats at the Big House in Michigan or in State College or at Ames for Iowa State right now, as they're looking to be 8-0 for the first time ever. You're not going to get the better seats for under $100. So use the promo code WCE10 to save $10. And if you're spending $300 or more, take $20 off, as you see on the screen with WCE20. Use these promo codes as much as you want throughout the college football season. The baseball just ended with the World Series, but concerts, the NBA is underway, the NFL. Use these promo codes. Again, it's Ticket Smarter mobile app. Promo code is WCE20 for a purchase of $300 or more. Like if you're trying to go to Georgia, Florida, and don't call it the cocktail party game in Jacksonville, use Ticket Smarter. Use the Ticket Smarter mobile app.
Well,
use the promo codes.
We're in November, so we are getting to a point now where the playoff games, the first round's going to be at home.
Yes.
We're probably going to have some SEC teams down here where we are that are going to be hosting some games.
That's right. Use Ticket Smarter on the secondary market. And likewise, by the same token, the college football playoff has already been announcing that the SEC team's going to plug into the Sugar Bowl like you would expect. Yep. The Western team or the Big Ten team's going to plug into the Rose Bowl. You can start buying tickets to that and use Ticket Smarter for the discount. Get in the game. Think smarter. Ticket Smarter. Promo codes WCE10 for a purchase of $100 or more. WCE for Winning Cures Everything 20. WCE 20 for $20 off or more. Think smarter. Ticket Smarter. All right, I owe you another underdog. Speaking of the Big 12, with that Iowa State matchup looming, Iowa State trying to keep pace with BYU atop the Big 12. Gary, to your point, exactly what we thought this year in college football. Not Utah, not Oklahoma State that I'm about to talk about, not West Virginia. No, instead, it's right now Iowa State and BYU atop the Big 12. BYU off this week. They are 8-0 for the first time since 2007. Again, Iowa State has never been 8-0 if they can win their game. But I want to talk about Oklahoma State and Arizona State. I watched you and Parker and Kyle dissect this game on the BetUS show, the BetUS college football show on their platforms. I understand Arizona State's improved. They've already surpassed their win total. They're off a bye week. But something says to me Oklahoma State gets right this week at home. I know they've not been good against the run. I know that Scattaboo, the outstanding running back, Cam Scattaboo of Arizona State, will likely get his. He'll likely probably get 125, 150 yards. I think the Pokes probably win this in a shootout. What was that stat you had on your show? I believe they are 6-1. The Pokes in the last 7 as a home underdog under Gundy. They're
9-1.
9-1. So you can't be 9-1 without being 6-1. I'll take 9-1 as a dog at home under Gundy. I like them to win outright. The card is up for the video audience. Give me Oklahoma State Saturday afternoon in Stillwater. Nobody had them 0-5 in Big 12 play, and they haven't played that poorly in some of these games. I think they figure it out against Arizona State, a winnable game. I know Sam Levitt, the quarterback, you guys were talking about this, the dual threat quarterback for Arizona State. He's expected to be back. He's had a rib injury. Give me a thought here on this, on ASU and Oklahoma State.
I've gone back and forth on this one because you just have to assume at some point that Gundy's bunch is going to wake up and do something different, right? And that's what Gundy has done in the past. When something isn't working, he'll switch it up and they'll go and do something different. They haven't really been able to do that much. They did against BYU. They didn't get the win, but they did get the cover on the road coming out of the bye week. Last week, they were on the road again at Baylor. This is the first time they're going to be at home in almost a month.
Well, and Baylor ran all over them last week. I get that. Baylor had 300 yards rushing. But you talk about shoulda here. Yes, right? True. But you talk about shoulda, coulda, woulda. They had BYU on the ropes. They were winning the game in the second half. Ollie Gordon was running the ball well. Ollie Gordon ran the ball well last week against Baylor. The only issue that you started to allude to, can they stop Arizona State? Pick it up on that.
Yeah, Scatterboo is just – he's awesome. He's awesome. And the offensive line and defensive line play for Arizona State has been way, way better than we expected. Kenny Dillingham is really doing some fun stuff there. The crazy thing about Dillingham is he does some very interesting things where he'll just completely change the offensive game plan from week to week, depending on what the personnel is that they've got available. He did it last year against UCLA in his first year, where their quarterbacks were hurt. They couldn't figure out what they were going to do. They came out and ran some kind of wing T thing and beat UCLA, who was actually a fairly decent team in Chip Kelly's last year, beat them 17-7 by just keeping the ball away from them. Like, and nobody expected them to run that kind of thing.
That's coaching.
So you never know what you're going to get.
It's coaching.
Exactly. But Gundy can kind of be the same thing. Alan Bowman isn't great. This is a team that last year had 3.3 more wins than they were projected to have based on post-game win expectancy, right? So they overperformed all year, and then they got 90-something% of their production was coming back. They were ranked number, 1, 2, or 3 in the country, depending on what stat you look at.
Because Ollie Gordon's the leading returner in the nation in rushing, 1,700 yards last year. So maybe a little market correction because Oklahoma State is now underperformed as opposed to overperforming.
It's regression to the means, right?
However, this sooner or later it comes due, and I think this is the week that it comes due, baby, for Oklahoma State against Arizona State. Even with the Sun Devils off the bye, I will take them on 3-Dog Thursday in that afternoon game in the Big 12. One more underdog from each one of us. We'll also touch on a couple of other games. Where are you going next? I think I might have an idea of where are you going in the ACC?
I'm going to the ACC, and this is another one that I did talk about, but I feel strongly about this one. I'm going with Pitt against SMU.
And those traditional ACC rivals, Pitt and SMU.
I mean, good gracious. Look, you look at it, strength of schedule isn't good for either one of these teams. Number 101 for Pitt, number 77 for SMU. SMU is, I'm not going to call them a turnover machine, but they are number 121 in the country in giveaway rate. That is not good at all. And then Pitt has been pretty good. They're number 27 in takeaways. Pitt doesn't turn the ball over, number 18 in giveaways per game. And then, of course, there's the other little things, right? Like Pitt is number 8 in special teams efficiency. SMU is number 44 in that. So SMU isn't terrible, but it's still a bit of an edge for Pitt. When it comes to penalties per game, Pitt is significantly better. All the little fundamental things this Pitt team is really, really good at. So on the margins, they're just an overall better football team. And that's what I'm looking at in this. I know SMU is at home, but SMU coming off a tough game against Duke, coming back home. I think that Pitt's going to be able to hang in this game. I think that both quarterbacks are going to play. This Pitt offense over the last 4 weeks has not been very good. Number 93 in the country in PPA per drive, but their defense has been number 2. This Pitt defense is legit right now. And Narduzzi's got it rolling.
And they have found a way to win in dire straits in the fourth quarter, game on the line, over and over again.
Had adversity.
18-point comeback at Cincinnati early in the year. Down 10 in the backyard brawl game at home to come back and win in that game with West Virginia. Game could have gone either way with Cal. They hung on. They got a missed field goal. They got a 4th down stop late in the game in like a 2-point game and won that game. They have not been 8-0 since 1982, and Dan Marino, hello, they're 8-0 right now. By the way, that 82 Dan Marino team played in the Cotton Bowl against Gary Seeger's SMU, Craig James and SMU, and it was a 7-3 stink bomb game with Dan Marino being held without a touchdown for Pitt. SMU won the game 7-3. How about that? Going back now almost 40 years. Look at that, though. He's got the Pitt Panthers against Rhett Lashley's LSU team or SMU team in the ACC. Again, this stuff makes no sense. We're about to talk about it on my game. This stuff makes no sense that a pivotal game in the ACC is Pittsburgh at SMU. One more note on this game. When is the last time I got the chance to be around Wes Durham, the play-by-play voice of the Atlanta Falcons, who also does a great job on the ACC TV calls, the ACC network. He was working, obviously, the Falcons-Buccaneers game. No, I don't want to talk about it in the creamsicle orange, another loss. But I said to Wes, because he had just worked Saturday night, flown all morning to get to Tampa, I said, when is the last game you worked where the road team turned the ball over 6 times and won the game? And he said, how about never? And that's what SMU did last week against Duke.
Exactly.
6 turnovers on the road. Gary Seegers.
They might have used up their luck in getting that win.
Maybe. And they blocked the game-winning field goal on the last play of the game and then stopped a 2-point conversion in overtime to win by 1. They may have used up a lot of the 9 lives right there.
They
on
might
that.
have. They
Pitt
might have.
Is your pick on 3 Dog Thursday plus the 7.5 in the ACC showdown. All right, 1 underdog still to go. I will give you that underdog in a moment, but we have another sponsor to tell you about on 3 Dog Thursday. Let us do that right now. That sponsor is our friends at Go Sleeves. If you're seeing the video, you see them on the screen right now. If you've got the aching knees, the aching elbow, the bad calf, if you're a weekend warrior, if you're running, playing basketball, pickleball, whatever, get the Go Sleeves kinesiology technology, as I say. It helps out with blood flow. It helps out with therapeutic recovery. Again, if you've got the aches and pains, biking, running, golfing, pickleball, basketball, you name it. We're seeing them in action for the knees, the calves, the elbows, all the great gear that they have. They have a great therapeutic shirt for your back muscles, for your lower back. It's Go Sleeves. It's definitely go time with Go Sleeves. Go to GoSleeves.com and find out more and use the promo code WCE for a discount on product with Go Sleeves. Again, great therapeutic stuff. I know, Gary, I'm older. I'm older than you and I'm older than some, but the aches and pains are there when you go out and you run. I jog with the dog. I go and I play golf. The elbow hurts. The knees hurt. Use Go Sleeves, GoSleeves.com. We love that as a sponsor here of 3 Dog Thursday from our friends at Go Sleeves. WCE is your promo code. Yes.
You owe me a dog.
I do owe you a dog. And once again, have I said this 3 times or 4 times already? This makes no sense. How is my USC Washington traditional, huge Pac-12 matchup now a Big Ten game? I can't get used to this being a Big Ten game already, but it is.
Well, they'll turn this into a classic Big Ten matchup.
All right, so maybe it will be a low scoring.
And it's on Big Ten Network.
It is on the Big Ten. I mean, it makes total sense. We got USC at Washington. Why not put it on the Big Ten Network for 4:30 Pacific, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern time? Washington back at home off of back-to-back losses to Indiana and to Iowa. They were destroyed at Iowa. They were in the game for a while with Indiana, and Indiana's good so far this year. But when last we saw the Huskies at home, they were outright winners over Michigan. I'm sorry, Gary. I believe you had Michigan on 3 Dog Thursday.
I did.
For that game. This is Will Rogers, the former Mississippi State quarterback, at quarterback for Washington. UW also features Jonah Coleman, the running back. He's approaching 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. USC is a Jekyll and Hyde team. They're so good at home. We saw them bash Rutgers last Friday night at home. But they're what, Gary? 0-3 on the road in the Big Ten?
Yeah, that's right. 0-3 on the road in the Big Ten. Both teams.
Winless on the road. Yes. But this is a matchup here at home for Washington. USC losing to the 3 M's, right? To Maryland, to Michigan, and to Minnesota on the road. So this isn't an M. Turn it upside down. It's a W. It's the UW Huskies at home. Jacked atmosphere. Again, I think this is a Washington opportunity to just simply win. I'll take that 2.5 points. They go by UW up there, or the Dogs. Well, the Dogs is the way that Georgia said. They just call them the Dogs. The Dogs in Seattle. Give me Washington over Southern Cal in a head-to-head matchup in the Big Ten. I know that that USC has been kind of hot and cold offensively. Again, Miller Moss right now with 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Shoulda, coulda, woulda beat Penn State. Lost the game in overtime. But again, they've not been the same team on the road. Lost in the final seconds to Minnesota. lost in the final seconds as well to Maryland in a 29-28 game on the road. Give me Washington. Any other thought on this matchup real quick?
Washington, in their 10 lined games all time, Washington is, or not all time, sorry, in the last 10 lined games that they've had, Washington is 7-3 against the spread against USC. And this is the 7th straight game without a bye that USC is playing. Not a good schedule spot.
Forgive me, what is the number again on Washington as a home dog recently? Aren't they? They're 3-0 ATS, right? This year at home. They have the 3 wins.
And I believe 3-1.
3-1, ATS at home for this year. So they've been a good home team so far under the new coach, Chitfish.
They are 18-0 in their last 18. So basically, they've won every game since the end of 2021 at home.
Outright. Every game has been a home win.
Brother,
this is UW. This is UW on 3 Dog Thursday, and we'll take the 2.5 that is out there right now for 3 Dog Thursday purposes. All right, final couple of moments. Stay in the Big Ten because, of course, it makes sense. Oregon's a Big Ten team now. Oregon at Michigan. They throttled Illinois last week. I thought that would be a better game, but they destroyed them with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, speed on the perimeter. Michigan getting a ton of points at home. Do we glance the way of the Wolverines or stay away, Gary? Quickly.
So every number that I've got says that you got to take Oregon here, and my gut is saying you got to take Michigan. There's a little bit of an advantage with Michigan running the ball against that Oregon defensive line and really against that front seven. But man, if you don't have any semblance of a passing game, which they did last week against Michigan State, Davis Warren looked better, so that was certainly good. But my gut tells me Michigan. The numbers say Oregon. I'm staying away.
Especially after what we saw Oregon beat Ohio State at home as well outright. I had that on 3 Dog Thursday. We'll claim victory there. So let's see. Again, that is the CBS 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern time game. The big noon game is Ohio State, Penn State. Ohio State road favorite at Penn State. When is James Franklin ever going to win an important Michigan or Ohio State game at Penn State? Is this the time? It's the Fox big noon kickoff game at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. Thought on that? Is that line about right?
I think, the line is right, at least when it comes to advanced metrics and whatnot. I think Penn State's going to win the game outright. I talked about it on the BetUS show. I think having the 2 different quarterbacks, the Pribula kid looks better in this Kotelnicki offense, and that might be because they caught Wisconsin off guard. But Drew Aller is going to play. They showed video of him practicing and whatnot. He's going to play. I think he's going to be fine. The people that are not going to play are the first and second string left tackles for Ohio State. And that is a huge concern when you're talking about Abdul Carter in that front seven for Penn State. I just get the feeling that this is the year that Penn State's been waiting for, and Ohio State, all this talk and all this hype. And I don't feel good about their chances going into Happy. Could you imagine Ohio State being out of the Big Ten race by the first weekend in November?
It could be. If they don't win this game,
and it's pretty much game set match.
They're in trouble, especially the tiebreaker with Oregon, for example. And again, they struggled with Nebraska to put them away. They missed on a couple of red zone scoring chances, missed a field goal, and that's a 1-score game. Late in the game, they had to put it away with an interception in the final couple of minutes.
That's what scares me a little bit about this is they didn't look good last week. So is this a bounce back spot? Are they just waiting on this game? And
the kid Justin Smith is a phenomenal NFL caliber wide receiver, and he's only a freshman, so maybe he has a breakout game. And Penn State, for whatever reason, though, has turtled in this game figuratively over and over and over again. Let's see what it looks like. Hey, Iowa State, Texas Tech, I think is sneaky good. Again, I make mention from earlier in the show, whether you're with us live here or you're hearing us in the podcast, I brought it up a couple of times, that Iowa State's never been 8-0, and that's a double-figure line, right? Texas Tech hung right in with TCU. They've been good. I still don't know what happened to them giving up 59 points to Baylor. I think they're better than that on defense. Am I crazy to think that 14 might be too many points Saturday afternoon in Ames? Just real quick, Gary.
I mean, this line's all over the place, right? There's a couple of 12.5s out there. You can get a 14. It's bananas. But the reason that it's like that is because Texas Tech is, I mean, maybe one of the most high variance teams in the entire country. Morton, the quarterback, he's hit or miss. He can be really, really good.
He's been hurt, by the way. He was hurt in the second half, didn't play against TCU, but it's believed he's going to try to play in this game.
Yeah. My numbers have Iowa State by like 16.5, 17. But this is another one of those where you're trying to figure out what is the ceiling of this team, where the talent level isn't one of the best teams in the country, but they've got a lot of returning experience. They've been in the system for a long time. They're incredibly well coached. Heacock, their defensive coordinator, is just an absolute stud. And what he does in these second halves, I mean, they just shut teams down. I don't know if you can shut down Texas Tech, though. That's what I'm curious about.
And by the way, for Iowa State, we get to play the look ahead. The teams don't, but we get to play the look ahead. If they win this game with Texas Tech, they're at Kansas, who's bad. They got Cincinnati at home, very winnable. They got Utah, who's bad and in disarray. And then they finish with Kansas State. There is a realistic chance that if they win this game with Texas Tech, they could roll their way to 11-0 for that K-State game. Woo!
And BYU,
and BYU right now at 8-0 has the off week this week. Just like we said at the top of the show, everybody said in the Big 12, BYU and Iowa State at the end of the year. Of course not. And then SEC, Georgia going to clobber Florida. Florida is so injured at the skill positions, running backs, receivers. They got a safety that's out as well.
And you got a freshman quarterback going against that Georgia front seven.
Good luck. And that's maybe not enough points.
And there's a lot of people that are on Florida this week. That line was at 16. It's
are they looking at the injury report, for God's sake, for Florida on who's playing on that? Anything else that we left out? I think we're pretty well good with the marginal underdogs besides what we covered. Let's go over it again, get the cards ready.
Hold on. Let's do this. Give me your thoughts on this because I talked about it on the BetUS show. What do you think on Texas A&M and South Carolina?
Interesting. Again, they were so good in the second half against LSU. Mike Elko's got him going. He's even taken swings at Jimbo Fisher without naming him. South Carolina has been a fly in the ointment a couple of different times, including with Alabama. I don't know. What is that lined at right now?
It's so it was 2.5 the other day. It's all the way up to 3.5. So some Texas A&M love came in today.
All right.
But man, Williams-Brice at night, they've got sandstorm going.
You better be ready every week in the Southeastern Conference. We keep saying that over and over and over again. All right, let's go through the picks. You and I both agree. Cards up. Vanderbilt, Commodores, the Doors against Auburn, and is Pavia about to be 3-0 against Hugh Freeze? At New Mexico State against Liberty, at New Mexico State against Auburn, and now for Vandy against Auburn. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
You took Arkansas. Get that card up, and the 7.5 for the matchup with Ole Miss. I've got Oklahoma State getting 3.5 at home with Arizona State. I don't care that they're winless in the Big 12. I think they get on track at home in Stillwater. You'll take Pitt in the ACC game with Pitt to be 9-0 for the first time since Marino, 1982. If they can get there, and I'll take the Washington Huskies. That's the UW against USC Southern Cal in Seattle. Of course, it's a Big Ten game at 4:30 Pacific time on the Big Ten Network. With that, there's another show. Gary, again, has phenomenal content here on Winning Cures. All the picks of all the games, not just underdogs, favorites, totals, all of it. Check it out on the Winning Cures platforms on the YouTube page. You do fantastic work, as well as the BetUS College football show with Parker and Kyle. I love watching that show and getting your breakdown. Gary's everywhere, all over the platforms with the college football. Anything else in closing, my friend, for Three Dog Thursday? Ready for November?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
That's what I'm ready for. That's the only thing I got left to say. November's going to be absolutely bananas. Keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, I would say yes, because it could go any way. We keep saying this. It could go any way of about 10 or 12 ways for who's in the national championship game when it's all said and done at the end of the college football playoff. And I think we like that. We'll see. But anyway, Good luck, Gary, with your underdogs. For the audience, thank you for finding us on Gary's platform, Winning Cures Everything, and the YouTube page. Again, the podcast is Three Dog Thursday on podcast on Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. If you're only hearing us on podcast, come to Gary's platforms. You'll see what we look like with the cards and with all of that. My friend, good luck with the underdogs. Happy Saturday.
Of course.
There goes Gary Seegers. I'm merely TJ Rives. We talk underdogs in college football every week on Three Dog Thursday. Woof, woof.